How's it going, everybody? You are now tuning in to Full Court Catholic, where we talk about scripture, spirit, and sports. My name is Jude D'Agostino. Let's jump right in. So today's episode is all about love. Something that everybody craves, something that is a necessity for human life, and for all of us to thrive, we need love. But what is love? And I'm not just talking about the Disney movie, romantic, prince and princess love scene. I mean genuine love. Well, I'll start off with two quotes. One from St. Thomas Aquinas and the other from Pope St. John Paul II. The first from St. Thomas Aquinas states in his Summa Theologiae that to love is to will the good of the other. And JP2 states, man cannot fully find himself except through a sincere gift of himself. Now, what does that mean? What does it mean to will the good of the other or to find yourself through a sincere gift of yourself? Well, to define them, I want to start off with what the lie is about love and loving yourself. So right now, I go to Westchester University, and the term self-love is thrown around a lot, meaning that we all need time for some self-love and self-care, and usually that comes in the form of like a rest and relaxation day, or spending money on yourself, shopping, or whatever. And it's all focused around you. Now, granted, everyone needs their time alone. Everyone needs their time to focus on things that they want to focus on, whether it's reading, relaxing, things like that. Okay, but it places the primary aspect of self-love on these activities that are pointed inward at myself. So to love myself is to do things that benefit myself. And they don't really talk about any other definition of love, certainly not this one, about making yourself a gift to someone else. I think that this whole lie of focusing on yourself, finding yourself, is only in, doing things that benefit you. It is a complete lie. It's a hoax. You find yourself in the extent that you reach out to others, expressing your love in selfless service. I think St. Therese is a great example of this. The reason, and we talked about this in yesterday's episode, that St. Therese is so free, despite being a cloistered nun. She lived in the same place every single day, did the same thing. She wasn't going out into the world, yet was one of the freest saints we have ever seen. And her writings about the vast oceans of mercy she experienced in prayer, she loved so intensely. And she showed that through acts of charity to her sisters in the convent. She would do random tasks and not tell anybody. So her sisters would come down and the laundry was folded or the dishes were put away. There were small things done with great love. And she found her vocation to love. I think that is so beautiful. So let's start off in this episode about love by rejecting the lie that to love is solely focused on things about me, about oneself. I fall into this trap all the time about, wanting to, experience love, so I play 5 hours of video games. Suddenly, I don't feel that good afterwards. Maybe in the moment I feel pretty good and I'm grinding away on Minecraft or whatever I'm playing at the time. But when I love in the way of, at the Newman Center at Westchester University, I lead some small group discipleship stuff. And I'll meet one-on-one with some of these guys, talk to them about their spiritual life, the direction they're moving in, how they feel that God is talking to them and what ways that they're struggling and ways that I can help them. And I always feel more fulfilled after 1 hour doing that versus 5 spent on Xbox doing whatever, So we need to orient our love outward towards other people to will the good of someone else. let's talk about interior freedom. It is my favorite book right now. Father Jacques Philippe says, "We do not experience freedom because of our lack of love. And our inability to love comes from 1, a lack of faith, and 2, a lack of hope." So let's start with the first one, a lack of faith. If I'm not convicted that Jesus, God, is love, and the whole point of life is to give my life back to him in service, then I'm not really going to be all that motivated to help out my neighbor who's struggling. I'm really going to be focused on grinding away on Minecraft. So how do we grow in this faith? You ask for it. You ask for it. The Lord wants to give you this faith. He wants to transform your heart. In prayer, you need to ask the Holy Spirit to expand your heart, and it's hard. It's tough to ask the Lord to expand your heart for love, because Jesus loved more intensely than anyone ever has, so much so that he laid down his life for us. So love and service, love and sacrifice, love and suffering are 2 sides of the same coin. Remember that. If you have a notepad, write that down. This is a quote from one of the Focus missionaries at Westchester, who said, "Love and suffering are 2 sides of the same coin." So to pray for an increase in love means that you'll have an opportunity to maybe, serve somebody, maybe when it's inconvenient to you, but the growth that you'll experience in that moment of maybe you're a parent and you want some time alone to read and your kid really needs help with something, and it's just that denial of you know what? Okay, and I love you, and I'll do this with you. Or, like me, if you're at school and one of your friends needs help with something and you just really don't want to, maybe you deny yourself and you go and you help that person, and how much you'll grow in that virtue of love, giving yourself freely to the people around you. That's what this is all about. That is how you find yourself. And then number 2, that says an inability of love comes from a lack of hope. Now, for me, I know that I've experienced a lot of trouble in this department of hoping for good things, because I don't want to, sometimes I don't want to give myself away to others because I'm worried I'm not going to get that in return, and I'm not going to get the good things that I want. I'm doing all this stuff for other people, but I don't always have people who are doing it for me, and I don't know if I have the most hope in the Lord that he cares about my comfort, he cares about my consolation, and he wants me to feel happy and content in life. I often think that this whole thing is just one giant trip of suffering and agony to self-sacrifice, and that's just not the point. The point is to, sacrifice when it's necessary, deny yourself when necessary, do these things out of love, but don't kill yourself for the point of trying to climb that mountain of holiness by yourself, So my point is hope for good things. Hope that the Lord wants to give you amazing gifts. He wants to fill your life with love and with meaning. He wants to do that. You need to go to him for it. Another thing we talked about yesterday about how God is outside the door knocking, and you just need to open up and let him in. It still requires an action on our part to open up the door and allow him into our hearts. Actually, I think that was 2 episodes ago. Yeah, from Wednesday. Today's Friday, so that was Wednesday's episode. Go check that out, by the way, if you haven't. So, ask for an increase in faith and ask for an increase in hope in order to love others well. And then 2 more things that imprison us from loving well is our selfishness and our fears. Okay, so we are talking about 2 things that are lacking that need to be there in order for us to love. And now we're talking about 2 things that are there that need to be removed in order for us to love. So a total of 4 things. So the things that are lacking that need to be there are faith and hope. The things that are there that need to be taken away are selfishness and fear. So again, if you have a notepad, highly recommend writing this stuff down and taking this to prayer. Is how can I increase in faith and hope and decrease in selfishness and fear? So with selfishness is, how do we hold back from loving others in order to serve ourselves? Do I have a commitment somewhere that I need to be, but man, I really don't feel like doing that. Wow, I really just feel like taking a nap or whatever. And again, I want to highlight here that this is not to be confused with believing that in order to be holy, you have to deny yourself and go through mass amounts of suffering and never be able to just enjoy things or take needed time to read alone or meditate or relax, like whatever you need to do. I'm talking about beyond that, just in general. You have a place you need to be, or there is someone who needs your help, and you don't have a ready excuse. I mean, a real, other than just like, man, I'm a little tired or I don't feel like it. Those are the moments I really need to step up and say, okay, I need to deny myself here, right? And that next one is, what fears do we have that are preventing us from giving everything to the Lord? One big fear that I have that I'll talk about is I always had a fear about service, that I always felt that if I gave God an inch, he'd take it a mile, you know? And I mean, he wants to, but not in this sort of forceful, dragging way of like, I give him a little bit of opening and he just tears it apart. In that if I agree to help somebody out, all of a sudden he'll ask me to help out 10 people or 15, and all of a sudden I'm a missionary in India and I have nothing, you know, like that was a real fear of mine, that like, man, I don't really want to give my yes to him because he's just going to take it and like ruin my life, you know? I don't want to serve others because, yeah, it's this fear of I'm not going to be okay. Two things here. Again, God cares about your consolation. He cares about your comfort. He wants you to be happy. That doesn't always mean that the situations will look exactly as you want them to, all right? And you need to really just jump into this abyss of love here. Really just trust fall on God that anything that comes out of you serving others is for your benefit. It's for your increase in faith and hope and love, and for your decrease in selfishness and fear, which all will help you in attaining this eternal crown. So we got to trust. We got to trust. That goes along with faith, and we have to ask for it. So yeah, this is love, is to increase in faith and hope and decrease in selfishness and fear. And I'll leave you with two more quotes. One from St. Faustina in her spiritual diary, who states, "Love is a mystery that transforms everything it touches into beautiful things that are pleasing to God." If you allow love to strike your heart and seek to do good for others, you'll see just like flowers of grace just blooming all around, I promise. And this other quote from Father Jacques Philippe in Interior Freedom is, "People who haven't learned how to love will always feel like victims of life." So I read that and was like, whoa, yeah, sometimes I do feel like a victim, where it's like, oh my gosh, look at all these things I have to do and all the time that I have to deny myself. And yeah, it's hard. It's hard. No one's telling you it's not. But I will tell you that it's worth it. I will tell you that Jesus did it. Think about him carrying the cross. He could have laid it down at any point. He could have stayed down there any of the 3 times he fell, but he didn't. He got back up for you out of love. There's this great quote, and I forget who said it, but it says, nails wouldn't have been able to hold Jesus to the cross if love didn't hold him there first. How he went willingly to the cross. He's God. He could have renounced that at any moment and gotten out of there. Trust me. Don't trust me, trust him. Okay, like we have more than enough evidence to show that this guy could do that. But he didn't. Out of love. out of love. So my invitation for you today is look for an opportunity where you can be of service, to come out of yourself, to love another, to increase in faith and hope, and to decrease in selfishness and fear. Amen. All right, on to the sports segment. So today is Friday, the 14th of March. So St. Joe's played LaSalle last night in Washington, D.C. They beat them 75-70. And at first glance, you're like, awesome, yeah, great win. Absolutely not. Oh my goodness. This game it should have been a 20-point win for St. Joe's. So, first of all, let's get into some stats here, okay? Field goal percentage for LaSalle, about 42%. They were shooting very well. St. Joe's, 37, so a little less. From three, LaSalle shot .647. 65% from three. That is incredible. 40% is really good. 60 is incredible. St. Joe's shot 30. They also had more steals. LaSalle had 3 more steals than St. Joe's. LaSalle had 8 steals. St. Joe's had 5. So on paper, it looks like LaSalle should have won this game, but it came down to rebounds, offensive rebounds. St. Joe's had 46 rebounds compared to LaSalle's 35, and these second chance opportunities made all the difference for St. Joe's. So, yeah, the Hawks began the game going 2 for 10 from the floor, but these rebounds helped to get them back in before hitting 2 threes to go up 11-6. The Hawks out-rebounded the Explorers 22 rebounds to 12 in the opening 16 minutes of the game. They then closed the half with a 3 from Anthony Finkley, who is not a traditional three-point shooter. When you think of three-pointers and you think of the Hawks, you're going to think of star players like Xavier Brown or Eric Reynolds II, who I also talked about breaking the scoring record. But yeah, Anthony Finkley, a good shooter, underrated, hit that 3 to finish out the half. They go up 36-27. In the second half, freshman Desir Haskins played a huge role, scoring 9 points. And in the first 5 minutes off the bench, he had 5 points and 3 rebounds. Hawks outscored the Explorers 20-7 in an 8-minute stretch to take a 63-44 lead with 6 minutes and 32 seconds remaining. So this is what I'm talking about when we should have closed this game out and it shouldn't have been close. But let me bring up one name that made all the difference. Corey McKeithen. He used to play at Rider University before transferring to LaSalle. He's coming off a 30-point game against UMass from 2 nights ago. And in the last 3 minutes of the game, he hit 4 threes. One of those was an and one, and he cut the lead to 3 points. It was 70-73 with a few seconds remaining. But the Hawks came in clutch, going 6 for 6 from the free throw line, and closed out the game with a 5-point win. Now, here's the difference, all right? You win a game or you survive a game when it comes to playoffs. The Hawks survived this game. They were up, and they would have won definitively, confidently. Because in basketball, confidence, being on a roll, plays a big part in wins. How many times have you seen really high seeds, like 16s, 12s, making insane runs in the tournament because they get hot? It's all about momentum, right? So you carry the momentum from the previous game into the next one. What does that momentum look like for St. Joe's? Almost choking a 20-point lead in 3 minutes because of one guy. They're coming into play number 3 Dayton tonight. I don't know how confident I would feel if I were St. Joe's. So tonight, they've got to lock in. They have to close out the game. By the end of the game, they were passing it around, trying to waste time on the clock. They weren't focused on finishing it out, like put the ball in the basket. Let's not. When they started hitting threes, they kept doing the same thing. LaSalle started hitting back-to-back threes. Now triple back-to-back-to-back threes. St. Joe's just kept passing the ball around the top of the key. Like, let's score here. Let's run it up. Let's close this out. Play as if it is still the first half, because it ain't over till it's over, and it almost was. So, yeah, tonight versus Dayton. I hope St. Joe's wins, but I got to say I believe Dayton will take the W. So, more to come on that. All right, so that is everything that I have for you today. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all in the next episode. God bless.